Two.
What's going on?
What's going on? Everybody good?
Let's get it all in perspective.
Everybody good? The 24th of May. Let's let the team in. About the realest team in. Big old fact. Shout out to everybody that checked out that Big Facts podcast featuring yours truly, EYL and the team, the EYL All-Stars. We invaded Atlanta once again.
Shout out to Big Facts, man. Shout out to the whole team out there. Shout out to my boy DJ Scream. Shout out to Big Bank. And shout out to Jade. Good people. Shout out to Cheat Code.
Woo. Wow.
Check that episode out. If you haven't, you're doing yourself a disservice. Jay Who and Francis, solid dudes, man. And shout out to the Inner Wealth podcast for EYL record. Shout out to
Billy Carson.
My boy Billy Goat.
The Billy Goat himself, Billy Carson.
Yeah, that dude's special, man. They did 45,000 plays in one day. Shout out to Elizabeth.
Some serious numbers,
Shout
45.
Shout out to the whole team.
Yeah, man.
Very impressive.
Detroit, what up, though? DUNLAP, what up, though?
What's popping? How y'all feeling?
Can't hit.
I got him.
Yeah.
Let me know if you guys can hear me.
Yeah, we hear you.
All right, bet. How y'all feeling?
We good, man.
Good, man. How you?
I know that backdrop.
You in Brickell? You in Brickell?
No, I'm in shout out to my people in Opalaka. Don't tell my location till I leave. Yeah, I am. How y'all feeling?
Good,
bro.
man.
We good.
All is well. Can't complain.
45 in a day, incredible. And they had a legend on too. So
Yeah.
shout out to Inner Wealth. Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, we spent some time with them
Billy
down
Carson.
in Detroit. That was an interesting.
Billy,
day.
Amazing. He for those of you who see me post all my Kemetic, ancient Egypt, go
Is that
follow
where you getting
Billy.
them from?
He been a god with that. Kudos to my guy Ty and Bahati, who put me on that. Like when I was in college at IU, he been leading that alien, this real wave, and go to man. Just
Yo,
tune in.
We got into a Star Trek conversation. I was like, oh man,
Yeah.
I think we're gonna tap out of this one. We got no skin in this game.
What did he say?
They was using language, and I was just like, I'm not sure what that is. Like,
he has 64 social media pages.
he's different.
I'll tell you like this. If Money Master the Game is the Bible for investing, he is the Buffett for that information. That's all I'll say.
There
you have it. Ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
So let's get this show on the road, because I know we definitely got an esteemed guest that we are very anxious about bringing on. So I'll give you the quick rundown for EYL for the week. So big week for us. Tomorrow, big episode. Shout out to my boy DeMarco. He was talking about outsourcing. Outsourcing. He has 80 employees in India.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's going to talk about outsourcing, virtual assistants, and how you can really scale your business by outsourcing. The world is global; it's not local. So a lot of times, entrepreneurs don't grow because they can't afford, to hire somebody in America. But the world is bigger than just America. So we're going to talk about scaling. We're going to talk about doing business overseas, outsourcing, India, Asia. We talk about a lot of different things.
Yeah, we talked about Frank Lucas, because when we hear that story of going to get it from the plug directly, DeMarco actually did that with his business. So shout out to him. Wednesday, we will be in Miami. We are doing a open workout, and then we're going to answer questions for business, like a panel. Yeah.
And then we're going to have like a networking situation. None other than the legendary Mike Rashid.
Yeah.
I don't think you fully appreciate you get to work out with Mike Rashid. Like, he's doing the workout. Like, Mike Rashid is a legend. He's a legend.
I got my emergency contact number ready. I got my emergency contact number ready, y'all.
So come
pray for me.
Boxer Gym. You have the information? Troy?
I have the address. Give me 2 seconds.
Yeah, come with your workout gear and come on time, 3:00. This is not a party, so don't come fashionably late.
Boxer Studios, Miami, 1601 North Miami Ave, Miami, Florida.
Yeah, the flyers on Instagram.
Yeah,
Don't come fashionably late. Come at 3 o'clock. Come with your workout gear. Come ready to work out, and then afterwards, we can talk business.
Yeah, shots on me. We got water shots. All
man, I wish I was gonna be
there. And Wednesday,
open enrollment.
Big class for us. We are doing a real estate seminar. We got hard money conversation. We got MG the mortgage guy, and we got credit dude. So we're gonna talk about how to get financing, hard money, and how to credit. So we're gonna have like a mini real estate seminar that's at 8 o'clock on Wednesday.
Wait,
so
we can't go. Gym he threw out in Atlanta was amazing though.
Credit. Oh, him 500.
Him.
Oh yeah.
No, he's different. He's different. He's different.
He's a legend.
Man, he's different. We got to give a big, huge shout out. Shout out to everybody that was in the book club yesterday. We started Get Good with Money. Obviously, that's Tiffany the Budgetnice's book. So we started that. But I heard that was crazy. It was absolutely insane. But your dad yesterday, man. Come on, man.
Yeah, shout out to my dad.
50 and Over Club. Shout out to the 50 and Over Club.
Taught a class for EYO University. I heard it was excellent. So yeah, if you're in EYO University, you got to You
on Saturday? Bring your dad on the show one day, man.
Yeah,
I'll make a call.
Yeah. Low key legend. I know you won't say it, but legend. Yeah, we need to bring the dads on who get inspiration.
For sure. We got to make that happen.
Shout out to G.
Hey, can we just do the talk about the sneakers real quick?
Oh yeah. So every week we do something with sneakers and albums, and we kind of got caught up last week. So obviously J. Cole put out that album, that amazing album. And last week, Kobe went to the Hall of Fame. So we had Kobe up there. But this week, even more importantly, this is so powerful. A gentleman from our neighborhood, Greg Self. Shout out to our brother, Greg Self. He's been a sneakerhead since we were in like 6th, 7th grade. And he finally created his own sneaker. So up here on the mantle, I'm not sure if I'm going to take these down for a while. We got the Berg Greens. Yeah. These are pre-sale. Shotty got a pair. I got a pair. They are fire. I put them on. They come with 3 different pairs of laces. My man created his own shoe. The illest part is this, right? We went to school together. His son actually became my student when I was teaching. And now his son watches me on Market Mondays and Earn Your Leisure. And now he's watching his dad become an entrepreneur. It's like one of the most amazing stories. So shout out to the town of Greenberg. Shout out to our bro Greg Self. Shout out to Bubs who came in here and shot some footage, because we got Bubs up there too. We got a hat line. Shout out to him. Our town is doing some amazing things. Get that shoe. Get that shoe.
Shout out to my man, Greg. Definitely, we'll put the Instagram information up. And shout out to the dope.
Ooh, customized box.
Customized box, man. Sure, he said, my guy Shotty, GB legend,
EYO ting.
Appreciate you, bro.
Where can we get the shoe? We're gonna put the link. We'll put the link somewhere. Yeah, probably in the bio tonight. In our stories tonight.
Say his Instagram page real quick if you can.
Yes. I'll get it up there. I'll put that inside of the chat.
Greg, let me get some Red Panda joints and some EYO joints, please.
The Red Panda. That'll be hard. Yeah. The Red Panda for sure. Okay. So
crystal ball ones.
Yes. Let's get this disclaimer.
Yeah. Before we do a disclaimer, first and foremost, shout out to Detroit. And obviously last week we said that we were in Detroit. And we ran into this building called Ally. So this episode of Market Mondays is brought to you by Ally Financial. Ally is an option if you're looking to bank or invest. Ally Financial is a leading digital financial service company with passionate customer service and innovative financial solutions. They are relentlessly focused on doing it right. Doing it right is the slogan, and they live by it. And being a trusted financial service provider to both customers and communities. Get with Ally to make the most of your money so you can save, invest, and spend on things that matter to you. Shout out to the team at Ally Financial. Obviously, we got a big episode.
Yeah, my man Greg Self, his Instagram is Greg with 2 G's, Self, WK.
No, that's the old one. He's like music, money, tattoos, or something like that.
We'll put it in.
We'll get it in there.
But shout out to Ally. Of course, we have the president of investing,
the queen,
Ally, that is coming on. So we aren't going to waste any more time. We're going to give the mantle to Ian to let him do his thing. And then we will bring in our esteemed guest in about 20 minutes.
And Ian, as always, as you're getting ready, I'm going to do our disclaimer really quickly for Market Mondays. Do your own research, folks. Our content is intended to be used and must be used for informational purposes only. It's very important to do your own analysis before making any investment based on your own personal circumstances. You should take independent financial advice from a professional in connection with, or independently research and verify any information that you find on our show and wish to rely upon, whether for the purpose of making an investment decision or otherwise. This is a message brought to you by the good folks at Earn Your Leisure and the good brother Ian Dunlap, the master investor, aka Trade Over. We going with that? Did we trademark that?
We need to very soon. Shout out to my guy who gave it to me. I appreciate you dearly. All right, let me know if you guys can see my screen.
Yeah, we got you.
All right, bet. Let me maximize. All right. Honestly, I don't have too much more to say. If you guys have not watched the Mark Cuban episode, please do so. This will be a continuation and final part to that. This is called The Last Dance. I'm giving you everything else you need to be a great investor on your own. But first disclaimer, please do not remix, reproduce, redistribute any content without written permission. We don't need that. Subscribe to my YouTube. Just type in Ian Dunlap, and I'll post some videos once in a while. I'll be dropping those master lessons for sure Friday evening for you guys as well. Red Panda Real Estate is coming soon. So for those of you that are interested in investing, I'm going to gather my dad, Kiana, some of the legends. Of course, we're going to have Matt do the mortgages, but I'm going to grab some people that I love and in this journey to building some units. If you guys are interested, that'll come out sometime in August. This is not a paid program. We will invest collectively together. So if you're excited about that, put fire in chat. Red Panda Crypto Club, you guys can join in June. If you didn't think that the prices were going to hit, when I called them a couple weeks ago when Mike was on, and then they did this past week and last week, the Dream Team and I are putting those prices together for you. And then let's go. Any support that you guys need, go to joinredpanda.com and all support requests will be handled there from now on. Okay, so lesson one. Here's the harsh truth. This is for my serious investors. Most do not want to invest. Most want to gamble. I want you to make the decision tonight. Are you going to gamble and just throw money at assets that come up on Twitter, IG, Discord, Telegram, or are you going to try and master this actual craft? For those of you that are down now, and if this is your first time into the market and you're losing, I apologize, but go watch your homework and your scholarship is here. Go watch every episode of Market Mondays, every quality company that is on planet Earth. I've pretty much called out, or we've called out collectively, and it'll give you the blueprint that you need to be able to win real time in the market. Write this down. Kudos to the brother who highlighted this. So we talked about the yearly open before. So it sets the tone and it tells you where the market actually opened up at. If you use this, put yes in chat. An indicator that you need to add is the yearly open. So I kept quizzing everyone. What do you think Bitcoin is going to drop to? Because everyone doesn't have access to my crystal ball. It's locked away in that vault in Atlanta that the Coca-Cola recipe is and where Ash Cash records. But Bitcoin is probably going to slide back to that open. And if you look for most companies, they either slide back to a couple places. One is support, of course, the levels for the crystal ball, but the yearly open will give you a great indicator. If a asset has run up too much, where it will slide back down to. Please write yearly open in chat. Lesson number 3. If you are undisciplined, only take 12 trades on a year. This applies for penny stocks, for futures, for crypto, and for options. Put 12 in chat. Here's how you know if you are disciplined or not. Since Market Mondays started last year, you never missed a day looking at the market. That's your answer. If you are incredibly disciplined and your win percentage is 80% or more, do 24 trades on the year. That's all you need. The biggest cancer to your account short term when you're doing speculation is over trading. And I was reading a book last night. I told you guys about Ed Thorpe. Now I keep the lesson short, but there is a number of trades historically when people are investing or trading that they are able to win. And once they pass this threshold, the wins begin to dwindle away and the losses begin to mount. No one in their trading plan on a retail side should have more than 50 trades planned for the year, but 24 is a sweet spot that most people can win. We've talked about China's effect on Bitcoin, and I'll ask you guys this. If Bitcoin is truly a decentralized currency, could China and one person like Elon, even though Elon is acting like Trump on Twitter, could two entities have a great effect on a currency or an asset? Great investment if you get into it at a price. And somebody had messaged me earlier and said, hey, the key to crypto is to get in at a great price. I'm like, that's the key to every business. If you buy anything at a low enough price and you know what the true value of it is, all of your profit is where you enter. Please write down, I will be a safe investor and I will buy at great prices. Now, these are some things you need to know about how to tell a true trend. Everyone put in chat, what's the primary time frame that I've always told you guys to look at when looking at a chart? Quiz time. I want to see who's been doing their homework. Number 2, real support. Real support is not on a day chart. I will tell you that. It's not on a 4 hour. It's not on a 1 hour. It's not on a 15 minutes. It's not on a 5. You have to go to a higher time frame. Google real supply and demand. I know there's a lot of people telling you about institutional levels, and they have no clues what those are. But if you go back and look at the episode with Mike Novogratz, he told you that the area that I called out was a institutional level as a retail investor. You have to then go reverse engineer to find out how I got that price. That's what a real supply and demand is. Number 3, this is probably most important. The Fibonacci 50% level. So when anything hits a high, I need you to immediately mark off where the half off mark is. So if in Atlanta, we talked about it last week, if you can get a house for, there's a house right now for $800,000 and it's going for $400,000, would you be interested in buying that home? But when stocks are running up, everyone wants to continue to buy when it's at 97% of its value. You can't do so. On every stock, go mark off where the 50% value line is. For those of you that are doing options, I'm surprised that you guys do not have the put call ratio indicator on, especially if you're on TradingView. So you'll see how many puts are in play versus how many calls on that particular asset. For my traders that are doing futures, you need to go look at the commitment of traders report that comes out and see how many longs there are versus how many shorts there are on the asset. That will tell you with people that are actually trading, not people just talking about it on Twitter or IG and they're lying about trading, actual money in the market, what percentage of the market is going long versus short. Reversion to the mean is key. So anytime something goes to a top, it's going to float back to the middle. It's also an area where you can take profit. And for those of you that like RSI, you need to do 95/5 instead of 70/30 or 80/20. Lesson number 7, you're panicking in areas when you should be profiting. When people are panicking like, oh my God, Troy, can you believe Bitcoin fell to 30,000? These are the areas when you have mass hysteria in which you should be looking to buy. When everyone is so hyped and so elated about any asset, I don't care what it is, that's the time when you should be taking profit or looking to take profit. Please write in chat, stop buying at the highs. Number 8, everyone's asked, well, how do I know when the high is? Google high and low indicator, whether on Thinkorswim, TD Ameritrade. I believe E-Trade has one as well. But the high-low indicator, and if you put it on the yearly, will map out what the yearly high is with the yearly low. And if you also put it on a day time frame, it will map out for you over 30 days or 90 days what the high of that session is. Lesson number 9. No one wants this part, but if you want mastery, this is for you. Study 4 hours a day. You have to realize that your life and the trajectory of your family is going to be decided by those who are in government and politics and those that are investors that have mastered this craft. I put it earlier. Retirement was created for people to drive them into a welfare class. But notice every time retirement age comes up, it's always getting pushed back. So if you are not able to have enough money to retire your family, you're always going to be at the helm and instruction of others who would dictate when you can get there. Lesson number 10, if you don't know where to get in, you can use the 72 EMA. It works on all time frames. And lesson number 11, I need you to look long-term first. I touched on this earlier, but I need to reiterate this. Your life will be at the mercy of those who have mastered the markets if you do not master it for yourself. Do you want your family to be in bondage or not? Put yes or no in chat. Lesson number 12. I thought this is pretty interesting when Fred Wilson, if you guys don't know who Fred Wilson is, legendary investor, but he says anything that China bans, invest in it. Google, YouTube, Facebook, Crunchyroll, Wikipedia, Reddit, Microsoft, OneDrive, Netflix are all examples of companies that have been banned in China. Maybe Elon and Tesla would be next. But will Bitcoin be okay? Yes. But if you look at historically, the companies that China has not liked, that has given their nation access to more information, they typically ban, and it's usually a sign of a quality asset that you could invest in. And many of the greatest investors made a bulk of their lifetime gains on a few investments. It only takes a few great decisions. It's not like basketball where you have to make a great play or great decision every day. You may have 8 great investments over the course of your life and be okay. You may have 4. You may have 12, right? But you don't need 60 home runs in order to be safe. The great thing is, and this is a lesson, please write this down. If you're investing in a great asset, Apple, Microsoft, Google, NVIDIA, AMD, TSM, Mercado Libre, those same assets that you are investing in long-term, you can also trade those same assets. That way, you know what the personality of it is. So for me, I like VOO, VTI, SPY, long-term, QQQ. Those are also the assets that I trade on the future side. So I like the NASDAQ future. I like the ES future because I know what the personality of them are each week. Lesson 14, please listen up. People with a bag want safety, and those without want risk to grow one. I'm going to tell you a secret that none of you want to hear, and I've been telling you this for weeks. Fast growth is a trap to destruction set out by those who want to see you fail. I'm telling you, you don't have to like it. And I posted this earlier. A lot of times the truth seems like hate when you're being finessed and conned. But the truth is the truth. It doesn't have to be advertised. But otherwise, you would have seen every billionaire and every major corporation run into every other asset. You want safety first. And even if you have a small account, you will magically find more money from your family and friends. And let's be honest. When you go to your friends and family and say, hey, I want you to invest, they'll ask you what? How are you doing? Oh, it was going all right, but I put my money in these derivatives and man, I'm down $16,000. But if you would have just got consistent gains, they would have found money to give you and say, hey, baby, I want you to help me. And that's how the small wins will add up. And I know we all want home runs, but safety is more important. Get rich slowly and safely. I put this last year. 1% improvement every day adds up. So for those of you who really want to be great at this, read every day, be on the charts every day, block out the noise, because everything that's ever been written on investing has already been covered. There's nothing new. The part that is tough is that people will not execute. This happened in the 1990s, 2006, 2007, 2013. Then I went from Forex, which everybody killed me about in episode 70. Shout out to y'all. And then crypto came in and then people got destroyed. This happens in waves, but once you've been around the block a couple of times, you can see it coming a mile away. For those of you that are Bitcoin lovers or crypto lovers, check out these returns. Even over a 10-year period, if you compare gold is up 23% over a 10-year period. S&P is up 213, but if you look at crypto or Bitcoins, it's up 388,000%. The most important thing in this space you have to do is protect your username. Do not put it in your iCloud because your stuff can get hacked and taken. I go back and look to when I first got into Bitcoin and got caught up in the Mt. Gox thing. I looked at how many coins I had and calculated it 3 days ago. Wanted to die. But the lesson that you learn from that, and Rashad talked about it before, defense first. Maybe if I would have picked a more reputable broker, I would be up, a few thousand% easily in this passive asset. So year over year, you want to look at the assets that give you the highest return. But regardless of what you invest in, if it is a good investment, it will go up over time. And that 5 and 10-year period is what you want to keep your eyes on. Lesson 16, let's talk about futures real quick. And I'm not saying everyone should do this. Read the disclaimer at the bottom. But if you do 50 contracts, and let's say you aim for 21 ticks, and I need you to practice 300 times first before you go live. I know a lot of you like, hey, I need money now, but acquiring and keeping money is a skill set. It's not a gamble. That's why when you guys are like, hey, what's the play? I hate the word play because I don't want to play with my money, my life, or my family. You have to master a skill set. But if you can knock 12 trades out in a row, even if it's one trade a month, you could potentially make $393,000 by trading while still long-term investing. But everything in investing is a skill set that you must master. Focus on 2 assets. Please write this down. Only focus on 2 assets and futures. Master those and you'll be good. Shout out to the dream team. 2 index and 2 tech. Everyone, please write this down. 4 assets is enough for my freedom. You don't need 22. You don't need 13. You need a quality 4. And if we look at Bitcoin versus traditional assets, you can see, please write this down. Look at the drawdown periods of Bitcoin. 42%, 56, 82, 86. Now, what I want you to do from these dates, a year later, how much was the asset up in comparison? This is why. There is no risk without high reward. So if you have hyper growth, that is going to be paired with hyper drawdowns. So if an asset falls 58%, if you're risking 1 to make 11, what should your expected return should be? Put it in chat. Or if you're risking $1 to make 25, what is your expected return going to be? This is a game of math and how many trades you would take and how many investments you would make. That's it. It's not about the charts. I actually, Rashad, before when I was there in New York at Troy's house, I was like, yo, you ever talk to any millionaires and the first thing they talk to you about was charts? Never. Trade selection is incredibly key. And realize the more risk that you take on, the higher probability you have of destroying your wealth. Shout out to my baby Xander. I love you. I want to shout out to IG, Diva the Ruler. And for those of you that have been watching Market Monday since the very beginning, and for those of you who said that you've learned more watching the show than you ever did in school, I greatly appreciate you. And this final quote I thought was amazing. A little bit crass, but amazing. Success is like being pregnant. Everyone says congratulations, but no one knows how many times that you've been screwed. So for those of you that are sitting on losses right now, and that's Dan Pena's quote, everyone sitting on losses right now, I know it hurts. And you may even have your family telling you, hey, I told you that this investing thing was not for you. Leave that for Ian, Troy, Rashad, and Trap and everybody. Use that as motivation to get better. Because truth is, the market never does anything bad to us. It gives us an opportunity to grow wealth, and either we got in at a good price or we didn't. The thing that I love about investing is that conjecture, personal opinion, and talking does not matter. If you got in at a great price, the asset will work. If you got in at a bad one, you will learn a lesson. You either get lessons from this game or freedom. Never any losses. And this is the final lesson I want to touch on. No king builds an empire with the work ethic of a gesture. I know everybody online is trying to sell you this lifestyle that you can work 2 hours a day and kill it and never. That's not true. It's not true. And I even touched on it today. Bezos is retired. You know, he went to number 2 richest person and went back up. But even he is not on vacation and he's retired with billions. The path of freedom is going to come from your work ethic, your business model, selection of your partner, selection of peace, and investing in a couple assets, and that's it. But it may take you 12 or 13 hours a day. So for those of you that have been working on your craft and feel like you are not where you want to be yet, your time will come. But don't fall for the gimmicks, the games, and people telling you, hey, just 2 hours a day, you'll be a millionaire. If that's the case, I would have signed up for it. Rashad, Troy, all of our friends would have signed up for it. That is not true. Everyone who is telling you that you can do that, they're lying to you and they're being a clown, and no king or queen has ever done that. Choose the hard path. Choose the way that will actually bring you freedom, because I don't want you to look back in 10 years and be like, damn, I should have did it the right way. And now I'm broke and my family is gone, especially for the men. I've lost my family because I didn't do what I needed to do and or sacrifice. That's it. It's the last dance. I have nothing else to teach, nothing else to give. It's all up to you to go execute. Love you guys.
Over and out.
Outstanding.
That's it.
Yeah.
Put up a triple-double in your playoff debut. Prestigious
appreciate
company.
Shout out Devin Booker.
Shout out to Devin Booker, man. Shout
Dang,
out
what
to,
up, my guy?
What you call it? Yesterday, the Hawks.
Why we from New York, man? Why you don't do that?
Trey said it was quiet in here after you hit that.
Said it was real quiet in New York.
That's the
Shout out
energy.
to Ice straight up.
No, that was,
hold on. I want y'all to go on IG, message Trey Young, and ask him, does he practice for 1 hour a day? It's a fallacy.
Yeah.
Trade
the truth.
They said don't even think about passing the ball, kid.
Trey the truth, man. That boy's special, man. YouTube, if you can do us a favor and like the video, please like the video. Also share it if you can, share it to 2, 3, 5 people on your phone. We are about to bring on our esteemed guest right now. So let's do it.
All rise. All rise.
Yes, there we have it. Hey, your camera is your screen is sideways.
Sideways, yeah. Turn it the other way.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Love the shirt though.
Yeah. Yes. Assets over liabilities.
Too tall now. Okay, hold on.
Okay.
Myself up, but my screen is gonna be like that. How you doing?
We good.
We're doing great.
How are you?
Man, I learned from Ian. I'm scared of Ian. I mean, all that knowledge is. I came on a few minutes early, and I was listening to his teaching, and
I appreciate you.
Pretty amazing. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. You're absolutely amazing. I appreciate you for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No problem.
And she's decked out in the right merch, by the way.
Yes.
Well,
good attire.
My merch, but then I thought, you'd go easier on me if I wore your merch. So I thought
done deal.
So yes, let me do this introduction. Lule Demmissie. Did I say that correctly?
You did, Lule Demmissie, yeah.
Okay. Ally Invest president. This is somebody that we are extremely honored to have on. You know that Ally is a sponsor, but also a brand that we believe in.
Mm-hmm.
So when we got to have one of the premier people in the company on the show, it was just a no-brainer. And she actually just put out a report on inflation,
mm-hmm.
which we'll talk about. But she's an expert in the field. And really specializes in macroeconomics. So this is going to be a very high-level conversation. As always, Market Mondays is always high-level conversation. So we're honored to have her. Just a force of nature,
mm-hmm.
obviously a Black woman. So that's always a plus too. As far as
we got to just take a moment to salute that. Can we just take a moment to salute that?
Yeah, for sure.
Ethiopia, correct?
Ethiopia.
That's the motherland, yeah. But I'm American now, baby.
Yes.
American now, anointed and all.
Okay. So welcome to Market Mondays. We are honored to have you. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. And I think that what you guys are doing is so important. I've been, consuming some of your stuff even before I had the opportunity to meet you all. I just think it's so important what you guys are doing with trying to break down knowledge, because knowledge about money is power. So it's really important that you're spreading that power.
Thank you. I appreciate
it.
So I guess, we'll do the round table discussion. Want me to start it off?
Yeah, usually we'll just pass it around.
Okay, we'll pass the mic. So, let's talk about this inflation conversation, because this is something that we can't avoid. And, I heard somewhere that 25% of the currency that's in play today was printed last year.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a very disturbing pace that we're on as far as inflation, and it's something that investors need to be aware of, because the value of the dollar decreasing affects a lot of different things. It affects home prices, it affects buying power, it affects investments,
grocery store shopping, everything.
Yes, all kinds of stuff. So given your expertise in the market and historically how stocks have been affected with inflation, how do you think that this rise of inflation will have an effect on the markets?
Yeah, so I'd be happy to give you, part of the inflation story, if you're a student of economics, is that you learn that 2 to 3 things can be true at the same time. And that's something that's really hard for regular folk to understand. Like, how is it possible for something to be good and bad? How is it possible for something to be good, and then bad, right? And that's kind of like what economics is all about, right? It's depending on which side of the equation you're in. But so before I walk into the explanation of the impact of hypothetical inflation on investing, let me just tell you a little bit about Ally Invest. So Ally Invest is a investment shop that, regular investors come to trade and invest for the future. I always say, ultimately, like, unless you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth, you got to partake in the capital markets. It's something that nobody can forfeit in partaking in the capital markets. It's an essential part of growing our nest egg or wealth, depending on where we are in our world, in our lives. So I'm really excited to be spreading the message of knowledge around money. And one of the things that is really important, what I love about your format is, has not been enough representation of experts who look like us talking about money, right? It's often, you read the stats of how Black people have X number, 1/8 the wealth of white people, or, Black people have 1/6 the income of their counterparts in white people. And you don't really see the other side of the equation, which is that representation matters in helping others rise. And so I really get excited being able to talk money, looking like the skin I am and walking this person I am. So thank you for having me to do that. So inflation on investing. So ultimately, there's a few ways that inflation is a bit of a mixed bag when it comes to investment. So ultimately, if you are, let's say, a bondholder, right? Non-enduring inflation might not be a bad thing, because that means interest rates are probably higher, right? So that means as a person who's either in retirement or who relies on income from your fixed income securities, you probably could get more for those same securities, right? So you had $100,000 bond that was yielding you 2% yesterday, now yields you 5%. That's an income increase in your portfolio, if you will. If you're a stock owner, it can be a mixed bag, right? So if inflation is persistent, what it means ultimately is that your stock returns have to outrun inflation, right? What is inflation at the end of the day? Inflation is an imbalance between demand and supply. So you got some stuff to sell, there's some stuff that somebody else wants to buy, and somehow there's an imbalance, so price goes up, right? If you don't have enough supply, you got too much demand, price goes up, right? So if you're an investor, if inflation persists for too long, yeah, you might be getting 7% per annum or per whatever, however you trade, right? However you invest, 7 to 14, whatever your yearly annum is for investing, it's going to get eaten up if inflation becomes too high and persists too much, right? On the flip side, it could also be something that could increase, for instance, workers' income, right? So if people, like right now, people are coming out of the pandemic and there's a demand for workers, right? There's an actual fight for labor right now. Yeah. And that could be a good thing for regular folk who could end up garnering more income, right? So on that side of the equation, it could be a blessing, right? And then lastly, the other part of inflation that could be really dangerous to the marketplace is if you have too much persistent inflation, ultimately that could impact your GDP and your income, because ultimately you're paying more for the debt the nation owes, right? Like the higher interest rates are, the more that the nation owes at a higher interest rate. And so that could also sort of debilitate the GDP, which, as you know, the markets are looking at GDP as a major component of how to value the future. So it's kind of like a mixed bag, but ultimately I think what I always try to tell people is like, just parse it out and figure out which part of the story you are. Are you the person that's living off of bond income? Are you the person that's looking out for a new job in a high demand market? And that's how you kind of have to read the economic tea leaves, is which part of the economic reality are you living in?
Yeah, so that was a great explanation. So now we have a gist of what exactly inflation is. Even in my research, I found out that there was different types. Can you talk on the different types? Because I've heard about built-in inflation, and I'm like, okay, I understand that. But there's different types that exist. Demand pull inflation. Can you get into that a little bit?
So ultimately, inflation is measured by different kinds of there's certain indicators that we look at to see if prices have gone up, right? There's the consumer price index that tells us essentially like, what are consumers fighting over, right? If the consumer price index goes up, we know that prices are going up, right? There's a producer price index that tells you like how much are producers, meaning goods and services, people who produce goods and services, how much are they paying? Are their prices going up? So what happens is different components of our economy experience inflation in different ways, meaning prices going up. And ultimately what happens is if inflation persists, more elements of our economy start experiencing it, and therefore then passing on that cost to who else but us.
Away from inflation for a quick second, given where you are, and I'm honored that you're here. Been signed up with Ally for 10 years myself. I think what one of the things that most people at home want to know is what are some of the steps that we can take collectively to close the racial wealth gap? And the reason why I ask that, not many people are inside the industry and have the lens that you do. So what are some steps that we can take to begin to close that gap, given your insights over the past few years?
Yeah, it's a tough question. And one of the things that I always tell people is every time I look at that problem, I respect the problem. You got to respect the problem, right? Like you can't do throwaway statements as to how that's going to be resolved. And so I think it's going to be a combination of things, whether it's policy, right? Which is why, we have to represent ourselves in our communities and in terms of what policies we support. Comes in policy. It comes in terms of what kind of sort of exposure we give people of color, particularly Black and brown folks, who are the ones who don't necessarily have that dinner table, that proverbial dinner table that's talked about in terms of being money and investing being spoken about, right? One of the things you find over and over in studies is that the common thread, the two major common threads of people who do okay when they retire. That doesn't mean they've got like they're rich, right? That it just means they have something to supplement their retirement, right? The two most common threads. One, money's been talked about in their lives at their dinner table since they were yay old, right? I don't mean just money, how important money is. I'm not talking superficial stuff about money, right? I'm talking about money in the sense of like what it does, what kind of choices it powers, what kind of choices it can amplify, right? How you make it, as you're teaching me and all the time, right? Like how you use your sweat equity and your knowledge to earn that money in different ways, including the markets. And so one is the dinner table, the proverbial dinner table. Mm-hmm. The second that you hear a lot about is the early start of whether it's your 401k when you start right out of school, right? When the first job you have, making sure you hit that match, that the company never leave money on the table, right? Max that you can. The early start of automated investing. There's something about like taking out, like you pretend that it doesn't even exist in your income. Yeah. You put it somewhere in your 401k, and then when you get a little older, maybe it becomes an IRA to accompany that. And then after that, you maybe have a different other tax-free vehicles that you start using, whether it's your healthcare program that your employer might have, where you have a health account that you can use as a tax-free means of growing your wealth. So the first is the table setting. And then the second is that early habit of just pretending a certain percentage of your income is not yours and making sure you put it away. So now, how does that two little things make a difference in such a massive thing? Well, I think that ultimately, there's something powerful about taking a big problem, making it smaller, and then teaching small lessons out of that. I'm actually a believer and a proponent that big problems require us to make them smaller to make some headway in them. And then once you make some headway in it, you create habits. Representation matters. Like people like us looking like we can do that, right? I can talk about stocks and you can talk about investing in crypto or whatever else your expertise is. Yeah. There's something about that. When culture represents you, there's a permission that takes place that says, I too can do that. It's not just a white people game or an XYJ game. I too, my people can also do that, right? So part of it is continuously being a proponent of those small habits that all of us have at our disposal. You don't need to be born with a silver spoon in your mouth to say, if I make $1,000 a month, I will pretend $50 of that doesn't exist, right? And put it into the habit of an IRA or a 401k if you're employed. You don't need to be a person who's born with a silver spoon in their mouth to know that to open a brokerage account requires $0 nowadays. There are no barriers to entry for you to partake and understand. You don't need to be born with an uncle connected to such and such to know that a robo can be invested in with almost $10. And back to your lessons, you don't need to be born with a silver spoon in your mouth to start to partake in earnest in markets. So I think part of it is just making sure that our people know that this is not as inaccessible as they think, but we need to make sure that we decode the language in a way that makes it accessible. Does that solve it all? No. Is it a massive, sexy policy fix? No. I just believe my gut that it is making a problem smaller and then repeating it over and over, that solution that is really important, much like you guys are doing, right? You focused on education and knowledge as that fulcrum with which you want to make change on.
Honestly, is it too late to close the gap?
Is it too late to close the gap? Tell that to our, the forefathers that worked and slaved away to make it possible for you and me to sit here. Tell that to them.
Yeah.
We don't have time for cynicism, brother.
I love it. Thank you.
People spilt a lot of blood and a lot of sweat for us not to carry on with the mission. So I don't even waste time on that. I have every day wake up, and the mission is to spread the knowledge and to make sure that more people enter the room that look different.
No, absolutely. Let me ask you this. So you are the Ally Invest president, and we see that a bunch of banks are starting to allow people to purchase Bitcoin. And a lot of banks are getting into the Bitcoin space and the cryptocurrency space, digital assets. So what is Ally's stance on cryptocurrency? And what is your personal opinion on the regulation of cryptocurrency now that banks are getting involved in it, and obviously the political games that's being played and things of that nature? So what's your take on crypto?
Yeah. So I have a different take on crypto. One, because as you know, I'm employed by a bank. So it has a different, even though I run the investment side of the business, at the end of the day, I'm also regulated by the Fed ultimately, right? So there are ways that we have to be careful for good reasons. We talk about crypto. So the way I approach crypto is from an intellectual curiosity perspective, not just an investment perspective. What I mean by that is, at the end of the day, every innovation, whether it's blockchain, and it's a subsequence of that being crypto, obviously, or other forms of digital currency when fiats become more digitized, at the end of the day, every innovation should make an investor curious and interested, period. The capital markets, if they're nothing else, are about the ability to understand where future growth is coming, right? So ultimately, I feel very strongly that you have to be curious and interested in crypto and blockchain to best understand it, because there's no doubt about it, this technology is pretty transformative, right? So in terms of the currency itself, I often, when I write about it, and I've done a few pieces on crypto as well as blockchain, it's more of encouraging people to make sure that they don't look at it as this panacea that solves everything, but they don't also become the cynic that says, it's just a fake thing that's going to go away. I have no time for both sides of the equation. I think we all have to be intellectually curious. We should look at our own investment situation, right? Look at our own financial situation and be curious in several ways. One could be education. Another one could be taking a percentage of our assets and investing and trying out. Trying out in small amounts and investing is key. Investing is a practiced art, as Ian has been talking to you guys. And Ian, brother, your name is Ian, right? I'm hoping I'm not calling you a wrong name.
Yes.
But investing is a practiced art. If you're nervous, try it a little bit. Don't put a whole lot in it because you might get burnt, right? But it's a practiced art. And the other part of it is it's an endurance art. Mm-hmm. If you get freaked out and you go away when the party's over, you have lost the lesson of investing. You got to stick around for the loss and the downside to know how to perfect your craft so that you're smarter about where prices are at the next time around, right? So ultimately, I feel that crypto is a really interesting space. Digital currencies are a really interesting space. And one, like every other investment, you should be balanced about how you look at it. There's speculative nature to it, no doubt. But there's also this transformative nature of it that you also have to be curious and potentially try out.
Lule, this is Earn Your Leisure, Market Mondays, and we believe everything is earned, not given. And so being the president of Ally Invest is a tremendous feat. So I have a question as to when did you get introduced to economics? And what is that journey to be in your position been like? I know there's a lot of young ladies watching this show, and hopefully my daughter is watching. If not, she'll be watching it tomorrow. So what was that journey like? What are some of the obstacles that you face? And what message can you give to the people that are watching?
Yeah, one of the things I try to do is I often say, I'm a unicorn in my industry, but I really don't want to be. I want to be a farm horse. I want to be as common as in terms of the kind of folks that are in fintech. I actually believe that our industry is made stronger, like any other industry. Innovation is made stronger when you have more diversity coming into it. And so it's something I always encourage people to be like, you can get into this. And not only that, who you are is your superpower. I often talk about my intersectional identity. I'm a Black woman, but I happen also to be not only hailing from Africa, but also I'm a gay woman. And I have 2 lovely children. I have, part of a biracial family. I got the whole spectrum, right? And to say more, I'll tell you this, I'm dyslexic. Get that in finance, right? And I tell all of this to people, not to make me sound exceptional, but to do the exact opposite. You do not have to be exceptional to be intellectually curious. And that is the only ticket you need to get into this field, is intellectual curiosity and endurance. And so, like, ultimately, I want to have more young people, whether it's people that look like me or others that don't feel represented, to be intellectually curious about investing. So you asked me, when did it all start? So I was lucky enough to really come from a family of economists. So even when, you guys are probably too young, but when my parents were in Ethiopia, there was an emperor called Haile Selassie that he was a very
too young. I mean, I'm Jamaican.
Troy's Jamaican.
Come on.
You already know.
Selassie,
Yard things.
Yes.
All the Rastas out there.
I'm sorry.
So, and young people, based on merit, getting education. And so my parents were lucky enough to really be part of inheritors of that. And so they got an education, and really sort of my grandfather was also educated through that means. And so I benefited from people who really understood that education was the key. When I came out of Ethiopia, my parents had no money to their name, right? We left Ethiopia as immigrants, and the communist regime at that time, after Haile Selassie, took all the money of most people, right? So we started from scratch, and my parents would constantly tell me, property, somebody could take away from you, any day. The regime, and what you have is the stuff, the gray matter that's between your ears. And that really sort of was the genesis of the reason why I was curious intellectually. That really helped. But then I realized how money, in the political and socioeconomic sense of it, not like I want to be rich kind of thing, that money and understanding it was the key to uncapping power. And I felt like I came from a continent and when you think about a Pan-African sort of experience, where our people globally really needed to access that in many ways. And so I felt like I needed to take my part in it and bring along as many people as I could.
For the women that are watching, if you can go back to when you were 18, knowing all that you know now, what would be some of the safest asset classes that you would tell women to invest in for their own security?
The safest?
Yes.
So I would actually, and they're 18?
Yes.
So I would say to them, unless they have something major down the pike that they have to pay for, the first encouragement I'd ask them to do is to actually expand their risk appetite. Unless you have some major debt that is making you conservative, you should be a little bit more open than conservative in your investment outlook. In investing, there are a few major levers in investing beyond your investment talent, right? One is time. 18 is a precious time to start, to not waste time, the compounding effect of time. And so to start off conservative can really make you sort of lose the compounded value of what time has to give you. However, if being conservative gets you in the game, so be it. I'm all about getting people to the party is the most important thing, right? Getting you comfortable. In fact, at Ally, we have a robo that we have that's balanced. That's the other thing I'd say is, for a lot of people who might feel a little nervous about investing, is try something like a robo, which is like a balanced portfolio that is managed on your behalf, that is fairly cheap. That can allow you to partake in the markets without feeling like, I don't know what I'm doing, right? Somebody else is helping you do it. But what's great about robos is you can log in all the time, see how you're doing, what your goals are they meeting your goals? So that's the first thing I'd say is start a vehicle like a robo if you have already contributed to your 401k, which is the most important thing. for. Okay. And then the second is I would take a second look at that conservative posture, unless you have something really holding you back individually, and knowing time is your value. The second, beyond value, time, second thing that's really important in investing is taxes, right? So never forfeit a tax-free investment vehicle. Never, ever, ever forfeit. I mean, I have some really good friends who are in their 40s now, who are like marketing executives and XYZ. And I'm hitting myself on my head knowing that they have not established an IRA, for example, right? Yeah. Or 529. Again, you do not have to be a person with a silver spoon in your mouth to just start the bloody account. You don't have to fund it, just start it. Because when you the habit of investing in it will begin. That's the next step, right? So never forfeit the ability. I'm like reading one of the comments that said bloody laugh out loud. I'm not supposed to say
don't look down. Don't look to the right.
So that's my English, a little bit of my English upbringing kicking in there. Never forfeit that. So whether it's an IRA, a 401k, a 529, an HSA, like never forfeit that stuff. So taxes, your ability to capture time. And then the last piece of it is endurance, right? Do not be one of those people that buys high and sells low, right? You can't, like you cannot be one of those people that buys high. Like, do you know how many some of my investments that are giving me acid right now that I'm not jumping out of because it's not the time I can jump out of them, right? So the ability to endure, that doesn't mean do stupid investments that you don't cut your losses, but in general, endure, right? So I think that if I was giving that 18-year-old young woman advice, those are the things I tell her. Sort of, don't be too conservative if you can afford it. Make sure you take advantage of every kind of tax-free vehicle there is. Make sure that you are not too conservative if your particular financial situation can take it. And then also use things like robos to help you feel like you have a net under you if you don't want to start off by just self-trading.
You mentioned robo a few different times, but I want to make sure that everybody has a full understanding of the term. So can you just kind of give an explanation in detail what you're referring to when you're talking about robo? Because I think a lot of people might not be familiar with the term.
Absolutely. I'm sorry about that. I thank you for catching me. I often look down on people who use code language that makes other people feel like they're not. That's one of the things I hate about finance, actually, is how many people love to use language that literally means like ice cream, but use different terms.
Yeah.
So I thank you for catching me on that. So a robo is essentially a vehicle, an investment account, if you will, that is managed for you on your behalf. And it's a diversified portfolio. Typically it's ETFs because it tries to be really low cost in its delivery. So it's like exchange traded funds that are diversified, right? Exchange traded funds are basically funds that hold different components of the market indices, right? It could be Dow, it could be S&P or other things. So it is a range of ETFs typically that are low cost that is managed for you for a low cost as well. In some cases, no cost at all. For instance, the robo I talked about at Ally Invest is managed at no management fee for the investor. And so it's a really good way of putting what I call your serious money until you get yourself strong enough as an individual investor who's self-directed. And it's a good complement to your self-directed investments.
So obviously we spoke about inflation and how it affects everything, stocks, real estate, even grocery shopping. Where do you think we're headed over the next 3 to 5 years in regards to inflation?
Well, I mean, if I had the answer to that, would we be sitting here is the question.
Well, I guess interest rates. Where do you see Do you think that interest rates can go up?
I will say the same thing if I had the answer to that. The way I look at it is, so let's take inflation for a second, right? So what I think is really interesting is I can't tell right now if the market is just over panicked, right? As it often is, right? The market gets a little anxious whenever it doesn't have solid facts, right? Like, good example, when COVID was kind of uncertain, the market was going crazy and we lost a ton of money, right? And then market knew, okay, this is what it's like. And then suddenly the market turns around and goes upwards, right? So the market hates uncertainty. And so we're in that sort of, even though we have markets are still going up, it's a mixed bag, right? Some stocks are losing and some stocks are winning right now. And so I think the inflation story really from now, what we can't tell is whether it endures past. Remember when I talked about inflation? The source of inflation is an imbalance between supply and demand, right? Mm-hmm. So right now, when you think about it, we got into COVID and there was a ton of supply in the market and we shrunk our demand, right? And people who produce goods and services, they're not dumb people. They say, oh, we need to shrink our supply now because we can't have a ton of inventory, right? Yeah. Or we can't have it. So they shrunk their supply. Typically, demand runs faster than supply does, right? So it shrinks faster and it goes out of the gate faster. And so what's happening right now is we're all coming out and we've been saving quite a bit, a good amount, those of us who've been lucky enough, right, in the economy. And so there's a lot of spending happening right now in the economy. And so you've got a situation where there's a ton of demand and supply hasn't quite caught up, which is why you're seeing inflation. The question is, will that supply catch up, right? Or will inflation happen because of other externalities that we can't help? In other words, like we've just dumped a ton of policy dollars into the economy, right? And there's more that's going to come out. Will that compete with the rest of the economy and cause more prices to go up, right? Because the more dollars you pump into the economy, that you're creating more demand into the economy, right? And so will that compete? It's an open question because I remember over 8 million people are still unemployed that were employed before this pandemic is over, right? So before this pandemic started. So you can't argue that we're still not in a gully. So that's an open question. Will this policy compete with the rest of us, all this money that's in the system? Or will it actually just heal the economy and this inflation that we're seeing now? And we are seeing it, whether it's temporary or not is the question. Will it just pass through as supply sort of becomes more balanced? If it becomes more enduring, it's a much trickier game. But, the reality is, the United States Central Bank is one of the most sophisticated central banks there is. And so I cannot imagine that that's something that they're not breathing and eating every day to make sure that sustained inflation is not going to be the case.
You're an icon and one of the smartest people in the industry. Can you walk us through what some of your study habits are and maybe like 3 or 5 of your favorite sites that you're looking at every day to get an edge on your competitors?
So I'm smart because I'm the tortoise, not the hare. So I just want to it's just sheer curiosity and hard work. It is, I in no way claim to be a genius in any way so really like what I often tell people with my study habits is I try to keep them snackable and always present. I don't do this thing where, I try to like crash course one day and then leave it alone the next day. I just try to make it a permanent part of my diet, right? So whether it's a podcast or here or there that I listen to in the evening, or it's something I read in the morning through any of anything that I sort of read in terms of papers I read, et cetera. I just try to keep, whether it's a CNBC show that I'll watch in the morning, I probably have about an hour to 2 hours of a diet of input every day. Input of some sort. And so I just find that that's to be less overwhelming than to feel completely disconnected and then try to be like studying hard constantly. And it also really I think what's really important of that sort of like small bites and consistent ones on a regular basis is what it makes you become is it becomes second nature to you versus feeling like it's studied. And, like everything else, once it becomes second nature to you, it becomes that much easier to build on the next layer of expertise you need to have. You need to make the first layer feel like second nature, and then the next layer becomes that much more easier. And I often tell people who I advise, whether it's career or investing or anything, your goal should feel, no matter what, you should be honest with yourself and you should be a ninja in whatever you decide to be good at. And never lie to yourself as to why you weren't good at it. Never lie to yourself. If you didn't study enough, if you didn't create those habits, be honest with yourself that that's what happened and hold yourself accountable and just focus on that ninja-ness of becoming a master at whatever you do.
Is there a book or site that you love the most?
I love
in the last year or two.
I am a sort of I'm a huge fan of behavioral science in general and behavioral finance. I find it really, to me, like it was a toss up whether I was going to be going into school to become an economist and a person in finance, or whether I was going to be a psychologist. I am constantly feeling the pull on both sides of it. I find human behavior, both when it comes to money or any other choices they make, fantastically interesting. So I do a lot of reading when it comes to behavioral science, and just in the practical sense of it. Like, I'm not one of those people that feels like I have to take my knowledge and then sound smart about it. I love making knowledge accessible and bringing it to its most basic, truthful form so that it can be spread around, right? But behavioral science is a really interesting space for me. And then I'm a huge consumer of anything to do with the market. So whether it's watching different shows on CNBC, reading the Wall Street Journal, I love seeing how the markets are doing and and it never gets dull to me. I mean, that's one of the things I tell people about, like, once you choose investing as a profession or as a means to supplement your income or your wealth over the long run, you'll never be bored in your life again. Because at the end of the day, investing is like literally like the synthesis of everything in our society. Like, once you decide to partake in the capital markets, it really it blows your mind how much of everything that happens in our society is synthesized into that.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. If we can get some questions from EYL University, the audience, I think that would be great. You guys are in a privileged position to ask an expert in the field some questions, and then of course if you have questions for us or Ian, you can feel free to ask that as well. But yeah, let's get some questions if you can.
I thought I was gonna see some ninja emojis.
Please take advantage of this.
Please. Darius, we come to you. Unmute yourself. You've been unmuted. What's going on, Darius?
Yeah, I know he has a good
What's
question.
going on? Can y'all hear me?
Darius, how are you?
Yeah, you perfect.
What's
Hey,
up, bro?
man, this is my first time on. I'm so glad that y'all picked. This is crazy. Like, all right, so real quick. Back in February, this is when I first got hip to y'all. 2021, Ian, that podcast, that Market Mondays lit my head on fire, like literally.
Thank you.
I was like, man, I got to get back on the stock game. I've been in crypto since like 2017, so I'm like super hip to like, all of that. So I got my retirement fund, I got my long-term investing portfolio starting to work out. So I'm really trying to get into like the futures and the options, either or, to like supplement. So I wanted to ask Ian about FCX, Freeport. I can't think of the actual name of the company, but I think so. They deal with copper. Like 80% of their revenue is from copper. I was looking at the charts the other day and it looked crazy.
Do we lose him?
Can you hear me?
No, he's
yes, I'm listening. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just wondering if that was like a good, I don't want to say play, but good long-term investment. Same thing with crypto. Like, I'm not selling nothing. All my long-term investments, not selling. I'm just looking to automate my investments like I've been doing over these last couple of years and just keep it rolling, honestly.
I will answer your question, but to be honest, I probably wouldn't meet this queen unless I went to like Davos or like an economic summit. You should ask her first, because her knowledge base is better than mine. But I'll answer it. It's went up a lot, but I want you to ask the queen first. Okay,
queen. I just appreciate the information that you've given. When you was just talking about synthesizing something, I don't think it's directly, well, I think it's related. I've been seeing a lot of people post like the Luke Belair blue liquor or whatever like that, and immediately I was like, wow, like I need to go find out what's going on with this company. And I found out that it's all these different type of liquors and stuff like that that's it's like put on front by these rappers and entertainers and stuff like that. And I thought that was like when you said synthesizing, like the world's being synthesized, that really just put it in perspective for me. I don't really have a question, but I appreciate, you being on, you giving this information. And one little tidbit, I did have a car that was once financed through Ally. So I'm in Detroit where the headquarters is. So that's what it is.
I love the way Ian forced you to ask me a question.
Oh, no, I appreciate it because And another thing, like when you say what you gotta say, I got one more thing to say.
Darius, I haven't done this in a while, but we're gonna do guidelines only because we got a lot of people that want to ask questions. So we appreciate you being an ally customer, and we appreciate everybody in Detroit. Shout out to the Detroit. What up, though? And we're gonna go to the next person. We appreciate you, though, Darius.
Freeport is
Mike,
decent.
we coming to you. Unmute yourself. You've been unmuted. Mike Dolo, my guy. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Mike, how you doing?
Good, I'm currently working. Give me 1 second. Hold on. It's like get loud. Oh, no,
I don't know how Mike does it. He's always the first person in here.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. Hold on.
Yep.
You guys should go look at a 30-year or 20-year historical chart for any company that you're interested in. Freeport's high was quite a few years ago.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm also in Michigan. So whatever you got, I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm sorry, Queen. But I have a question. So you being part of Ally, what encouraged you to actually go into the investment field and take it and actually get to the position where you are? What was your drive to get to such high magnitude of it?
What was my drive? One was the drive of feeling like I belonged, like there was no reason why I couldn't do it, but that wasn't just because I was super special. It's because I got a lot of people in my life helping me understand that could be, you could belong. You not only could you belong, but you can master the game. And that was really something that sort of sat in me, even when I was not doing well or in any one part of my career, because all of us go up and down. But just feeling like I can be in this room, it's like those, I always felt like, in the words of Hamilton, I wanted to be in the room where it happened, right? And part of it was because I knew that if I could be in the room where it happened, that's where I could effectuate the change that I wanted to see in my life, right? What I wanted to see in other people's life. I've never, I've always had the philosophy of you give and you take each time, right? So I've lifted and I've risen, I've lifted and I've risen. And so that equation of knowing the giving and the taking really has helped me both have a strong sense of I can do it, I can master this, but at the same time, the humility of knowing you got to bring people along. And just knowing that those two things are something I have to nurse all my life. I think one keeps me hungry and the other keeps me humble.
Let me ask you a question. Being the president of Ally Invest and having so much background in investing, what would you say a good allocation is for somebody that's 30 years old? So let me get my take on it. 10% crypto, maybe 30% of the money in a retirement account, 15% in 529 or a college saving if they have young children, and the rest in a brokerage account. That would be my backhanded kind of advice for that. How do you feel about that? What do you think a good allocation mix is? Because I think that a lot of people are not really sure about that. I'm hearing people that's investing for the first time, they have $5,000 invested, 4,000 in Ethereum, 1,000 is
going for it.
Yeah. So it's to me, that's not really the best way to go about it. But what's your take on it?
So I definitely think that's cray-cray, that allocation. But I think the 80% in Ethereum part. But I the way I tell people a lot is, you don't even have to, I don't have to tell you some generic number. You go to some typical website and do some questionnaire and you could figure out what your specific number is, right? And that's the more important thing in finance. You want to make sure you're giving people a specific answer, because old wives' tales don't work as well, right? But the great thing about nowadays is there are platforms as I was telling you, you want to open a particular type of account, you could do a 5-question answer and you could figure out what is right for you, right? Typically, I'll tell you, in your 30s, you still got a lot of runway going, right? Unless, as I said, you're laden with a ton of debt and stuff that we don't know about, you still got a lot of runway. So I typically tell people, unless there's something weighing you down, you should be more on the aggressive side of investing. That does not mean it's 100% crypto, right? Aggressive, the capital markets have enough aggressiveness in them, that you don't have to be just investing in speculative type of investments, right? So, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't try different things. But typically you should go more aggressive if you have a lot more runway going, because time is your friend. But the best answer I can give you is like, you don't have to guess it. A lot of these websites, you go to allied.com or anywhere else, and you're like, what kind of investor am I? You answer a few questions, and boom, we recommend a 60-40 portfolio for you, right?
Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this as a follow-up. So you talked about robo investing a lot. You're talking about, and that is the wave of animated. How do you feel the role of a financial advisor plays in today's economy? And do you feel that if people only go online for advice, that they're missing the in-person relationship that a financial advisor can give them?
Asking for a friend.
When they're good are really important. And we're going to be going into that space as well at Ally. Financial advisors are really important, not only for the expertise they give you in investing. Like, a lot of people make a mistake of going to a financial advisor and thinking they're just going to give me the answer to get me rich. That's not the point. As I said, investing is a long game. What you need is a financial advisor that is both elevating your knowledge, but is a coach, right? Is a coach telling you, no, that one is not going to help you out. You might want to think twice about that one. That one might help you out. A coach that you go to problem solve with, right? I got my student debt is this. I have income of this. Do I turn it all into the debt, or do I start investing as well? So like a problem solver, right? To help you figure out how your particular fund, like an automated solution is not going to be as best at that, right? And then of course, we're all human beings and we're feeling, right? Like even this forum, right? We could translate everything we said tonight into words, and it would not elevate as much as a human touch, right? The voice, the talking. So you can't underestimate the presence of a human being to help you, encourage you, and really provide more light. So I think financial advisors are really important. I think everything about investing is an and game, right? You don't ever hear me dogging crypto. You don't ever hear me dogging bonds or financial advisors. You will rarely hear me dogging those things, because I think investing is an and game. And the more we think in terms of and, the better off we are.
Queen Lule, can I just ask this question really quick? Because one of the things we did when we would sit down with young adults, we would ask them what they want to be in the future, and then we would go out and find people who could show them what it was. And part of the process is they would ask them what they study. And a lot of times we say the things that we learn in school, we really don't apply, but I would imagine that wouldn't be true for you. So being in macroeconomics and economics, what type of things did you study? Obviously a lot of math, I'm assuming, right? So
a lot of math, a lot of statistics, but I also did a lot of, I'm a liberal arts person as well. So I believe, I'm a person that believes that if you study lots of things that are like out of your discipline, you become a better problem solver in your discipline. Absolutely. So I did a lot of poli-sci. Economics was my major, but I tried and dabbled. I did philosophy. I loved philosophy. So yes, I was a geek at school, and I didn't say I was genius, but I was still a geek. I was on the lower end of the geek spectrum, but ultimately you don't have to be interested, right? You don't. That's what's so great about the era we live in now, is first of all, there's no pressure to be who you are and to be intellectually curious. And I remember a time where being the skin and being intellectually curious, somebody would look down on that, right? Even for our own communities, like that's gone now. I love that, right? Just becoming a voracious learner. Yes, I was at school, but I will tell you, not that I looked down at school, but it wasn't necessarily the school alone that built my knowledge. It was the fact that I read a lot. I listened to podcasts and also talked to a lot of experts, really made friends with a lot of experts. And I didn't care who they were. I tell people this all the time. One of my best mentors was he was a white dude from Connecticut who played golf all the time. You'll find your mentors in different shapes and sizes. It's the fact that you get the knowledge that's the most important.
Yes.
Yeah. King Arthur, we are coming to you. Long overdue, man. We've missed you. What's going on, bro?
Peace. What's good, fellas? How we doing?
Great, man.
Good. What's going on, brother?
Doing very well. Thank you, Queen, for all of the information you've been providing. It's been super motivating listening to you speak and watching it. Everyone in the chat, everybody loves your delivery, and I really appreciate it personally. Question I want to ask is back to your economist hat. And one of the components of inflation that you brought up were the rising labor costs. And it seems like, labor costs are kind of going up now for a variety of reasons. If for no other reason, businesses, I know here in Florida, businesses are struggling to get employees back to work because of unemployment and some other factors. And so they have to pay more. In addition to that, just on the policy side, we have a push to raise minimum wage to $15. I know here in Florida, it's phasing in over 3 years, but I know in some other states, it's already started. And you see some of the larger businesses implementing that. However, I feel like it's a double-edged sword for our people, because in a sense, it's higher wages for us, but then we have gentlemen like Earn Your Leisure and Ian Dunlaps in the small Black businesses who, on the flip side, they're faced with that rising costs, and they're not necessarily at Apple where they can just price in that rising cost. However, those are also the businesses that we count on to hire our community. And so they're put in sort of a tight situation where, they want to be able to go out and hire our community. And I'm sure they want to see higher wages, but can they all of a sudden eat, if I was in a $10 state and all of a sudden now I have to pay someone, a 50% increase in their salary. And I'm a Black business, that makes it very difficult for me to stay in business. And so how do you balance, or where do you see the balance in that in terms of the higher wages versus the pressure that it puts on our Black businesses and being able to stay able to operate and remain profitable and be able to provide jobs to our community?
It's a very, very good question. Very good question.
Oh, Lule, you're muted.
You're muted.
Sorry about that. So very good question. I think, first of all, the fact that we're actually having that conversation is really important, because I feel like sometimes when Black people talk about it's part of the economics that's also sort of they're nervous about certain policy that might be popular, but as business people, they don't want to sound like curmudgeons, right? Like they don't want to sound like Scrooges. It's really important that we are able to have like responsible dialogue around this, right? And I'm so glad you brought up this topic, because that's exactly what we need to have, is responsible dialogue. You're absolutely right. If you get too much labor force competition, or you have policy that infuses too fast, there's no doubt about it that the small players often are the ones that will get hurt. So I think the way I look at it is, it's back to where I talked about, like, if you looked at your own economic reality, the competition will benefit you in some pockets and will hurt you in other. So I would just parse it out to make sure that you are diagnosing your problem the right way, to understand where the demand and supply is hurting you or benefiting you, whether it's labor force or otherwise. The second thing I'd say is there's no doubt about it that ultimately enduring inflation, or the competition, the imbalance between supply and demand, is bad for everyone, not just for our people and starting out businesses. The enduring imbalance between supply and demand is it's not a good thing. And so I'm hopeful that as we all come into the economy and we start engaging, there will be a balance between that supply demand sort of difference, and people will come into the labor force. Now, remember, some of the policies that have been passed, they will start to retire over time. Like, they're going to start to sunset, right? More people are going to get into the labor force and start looking for jobs. And so I fully appreciate the pain. Unfortunately, there may not be an easy fix in the short run, but I'm pretty confident that over the long run, there will be that balance.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's something that we're going to talk about tomorrow as far as outsourcing. And it's one of these touchy situations. Of course, everybody wants to keep jobs in America, and everybody wants to help Americans. But it's something that has stifled a lot of businesses, because people, if you're not an entrepreneur, you might not fully appreciate that it's not just a matter of paying somebody. Then you have to pay for their health insurance, and then you have to pay taxes, then you have to pay workers' comp, and it's a lot that really goes into it. And you're eating up a lot of your profits. So it's like a catch-22 when you can get somebody overseas to perform the same task for a quarter, sometimes even cheaper,
even less,
than what you can pay somebody in America. And this is one of the things that we have to have more of a political conversation, because I think of Tim Cook, one of these guys, and they're like, what can it take to bring more jobs back to America? And so you can't take anything. Not going to happen, because the playing field in America is just not even, you can't compare it to Asia or these other countries. So, you know, it's one of these things where a lot of times people just say like straight answers, like, yes, jobs in America, great. Yeah, but life is not always that simple, and it's a lot more complex. And the entrepreneurs really fully appreciate that, because we're the ones that's actually hiring people. Earn Your Leisure has 6 employees, I believe, right? 6?
I love
Yeah. So 6 Black employees, by the way. So yeah, we're a small business and we're learning as we go, but
emerging empire, not small business.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
I don't like the word small business.
Thank you for the correction.
I appreciate that. But yeah, so that's just my 2 cents on it.
But that's exactly why it's so important to be able to sort of practice these nuanced conversations, right? So that we don't get caught up in a binary conversation that I feel like is really bad for our communities and our society at large. Like, I think it's really, back to my whole point at the beginning of this, right? The thing that's interesting about economics is like there could be 2 bad things and 3 good things out of the same data point. Right. And so getting smart about that nuanced conversation and knowing what's more enduring versus what's short term is really important to empower us to make those, whether it's you and your business decisioning, right? Or whether it's somebody else who's an employee that's thinking about whatever drivers there are in their economic realities. I think it's really important that we all know how to parse it out and have a conversation that's intelligent rather than these binary simplified conversations.
Quick question for you. How can people break into banking and investing? So I grew up in Northwest Indiana, East Chicago, Indiana. I didn't know anything about hedge funds, family offices, limited partnerships. And now more brown and Black people want to get in. What are some ways that people can learn how to get into the industry that are interested?
Well, it depends on where they are in terms of their life, right? So let's say let's start off with a young person. So a young person coming out of high school or college, you know, there's lots of different kinds of internships that you could look into with these banks and investment banks that will be really good learning starting points for you. So that's one, is like sort of whether it's a local bank or a regional bank or an investment bank or an asset manager. There's just a lot of places that you should look into to try to see, you know, whether it's summer internships or internships, entry point internships. That's one. If you're later in your career and you feel like, okay, that's too late for me, that's also not true, right? There are plenty of things you can do. And let's, for instance, in the industry that I'm in, the securities industry, where you can get your FINRA license. You can be a Series 7, a Series 65, and become a licensed individual and not think like the world has passed you by to be able to be a service provider in this industry. And you can start off maybe providing service, like answering customer cost questions, making your way into operations and trading. So there's lots of ways you can get into this, and it doesn't have to feel like you have to come out of an Ivy League school, right? There's a lot of ways that space gives you the ability to enter. And then the last thing I'll tell you is this: whatever you do, whether you do it at school or get an internship, if you don't start becoming an investor yourself, it's all for naught.
Yeah.
Whatever you do, the best lesson because once you become an investor, you become an owner, right? And when you become an owner, your mental framework changes completely. You should know.
Have you noticed that employees that actively invest are better employees because they understand the input of $1 versus what the expected outcome is versus those who are not actively investing but trying to be in the industry?
I know that employees that partake in investing have a more nuanced and a richer approach to shaping the products and services than folks who might not be intellectually, like they think of it as a day job, right? We don't suffer that, but ultimately, anything we do as a day job, yes, my brother is a filmmaker, right? So he had a day job for sure because, art didn't pay as well. So I'm not judging anybody who has a day job, but ultimately I think whether you are a filmmaker or enter finance for a career, first become an investor.
Yes. Especially the artists and creatives.
Yeah. We want to thank you for your time. Before you leave, what would you like to tell the people about Ally or just, investing or any words that you would like to leave the people with?
First of all, thank you so much for this fantastic conversation. I really appreciated being a part of it. I love your story, and I am cheering you on constantly from 6 employees to 12 to 18 to 20, and however fast you grow after that. So I'm really cheering you on. So the first thing I'd say is just make sure you check us out at ally.com. It matters where you bring your business, right? So what you hear me talk about, this is not just me. Like, this is the philosophical center of our shop. So come check us out. There's some really interesting things you can do to become a self-directed investor, or one that tries it out. And then the second thing I'd say is, like, support one another. Representation matters. Go around telling the story of investing as much as you do, and because it matters for people to see people investing that look like us, and talking about it and sharing our smarts. Share your knowledge and really show the world that this skin color is a ninja at investing.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Queen Lule.
Hopefully we can have more interactions in the future. I'm sure that this is just the beginning of a very strong working relationship. So thank you for taking the time.
You're amazing.
And greatly appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yeah. Thank you to the Ally team for doing it right.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Yes.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
No problem.
Bye, guys.
All right.
Take care. Yes.
Oh man, that was
It's
powerful.
incredible.
Hey Ian, can I get our earnings report off real quick?
Absolutely.
Yeah, shout out to our earnings report. Our earnings report is brought to you by Clear. Now, y'all know we travel a lot. LA to Atlanta, Atlanta to Detroit, Detroit to New York, New York to Miami. And when we travel, we like to do it with ease. And that's why we're talking about Clear. Clear is a secure identity platform that creates frictionless journeys at the airport and beyond. Move faster through your airport security and feel confident returning to who, where, and what you love. With Clear, all you need is you. That's it. After a quick one-time enrollment with the government-issued ID, you can use your face or your eyes for a safer, touchless entry at airports, stadiums, and more. Clear members can add up to 3 friends or family members to their account for a discounted rate. And even better, kids under 18. If y'all have kids, y'all know how that is going through the airport. You can tag along for free. That's a hassle, right? So Clear is the absolute best way to help you back to what you love. They have locations in over 35 airports across the country, making it easier, safer, and faster to reunite with the loved ones and take full advantage of the much-needed vacation. It works great with pre-check, too. So if you got pre-check, Shadi, you know about pre-check.
TSA pre-check, saved my life.
Saved his life. And right now, for a limited time, you can get your first 2 months of Clear for free. So just go to clearme.com/Market Mondays and use the code Market Mondays. That's Clear, CLEAR, me.com. /Market Mondays, code Market Mondays for the first 2 months free. Clear. That's clearme.com.
Yeah, you guys don't endorse anything that I don't love. I've been using Clear for years.
Oh, it's a lifesaver. It's a lifesaver.
Clear. You know what? TSA on pre-check, I just got hip to that, and you don't got to take your sneakers off. I'm surprised why so many people don't use Clear and these services. It's actually, it doesn't make sense not to use it.
I looked at him. I said, "Nah, man, things are different." He said, "You gonna take your shoes off?" I said, "Nah, times have changed." I actually today went to get my parents to get their account up and running. So real quick, let me run down our earnings. So companies that we've obviously spoken about on Market Mondays, Wednesday, big one. NVIDIA will be reporting, and Snowflake. Smalls, you all right with that? NVIDIA, you still in there? He's there. He's waiting.
Long term, you'll be good.
yeah. Thursday, Best Buy and Salesforce. I know Shai's been killing me about Salesforce, but I'm still a believer in sales. Don't do it now. Don't kill me now. But I'm still a firm believer in Salesforce as the world opens back up and people start going back to work. And there's like people who saying they're not going back to work. So that's going to help as well. And then Gap. Gap is reporting on Thursday. Now, about a year ago, we had an announcement that Kanye West was having a line with Gap.
Shout out to Yeezy.
Shout out to Yeezy. The stock was at $9. We might have mentioned it because we believe in Kanye and everything he touches turns to gold as far as the fashion world for sure and music. And so now, if you look at Gap right now, GPS is a ticker. It is trading at $32+ dollars.
Triple,
quadrupled.
All-time high is $52.91. So. Yeah.
And what did you see the news today? He said that the Yeezy line will be out in June. The Yeezy line will be out in June. So the Gap and Yeezy line will be out in June, which is, I'm sure, will be selling out in every store.
That's going to go crazy.
It's going to go crazy. Just in time for the summer. Yeezy has blessed us once again.
That's going to go crazy.
Costco will be reporting on Thursday as well. Another one of these retail spaces. And Ulta Beauty. A lot of people sleep on Ulta Beauty, but if you know, you know. If you know, you know.
know,
Do not
yeah.
sleep on Ulta Beauty. They will be reporting on Thursday.
Yeah.
Best Buy solid, Nvidia solid, Gap solid. Kanye is probably one of the biggest value drivers of all time.
Oh my gosh.
In any industry.
If you question whether he could do it, I'm just telling you, you're going to see again.
Kanye, a genius in the making.
Already made.
Well, I say that because I don't think he's even reached his full potential yet
at all.
That's fair.
Yeah, he still got a long way to go. All right, I want to do like 5 more minutes, 10 more minutes.
All right, sure, let's do it.
You're in a good mood today. Hey, we may do a 410.
Let's go with some of these names.
Oh,
here.
actually, well, let's do that at the end.
All right. Let's go. Let's get a young lady. Let's go to Natalie. Natalie Jerome, we are coming to you. Now, when we come to you, you got to be ready. There's no fridge breaks. I'm saying this now to give you a fair warning. You don't have to be nervous. A lot of people say, this is my first time. So don't be nervous. It's just Troy and Rashad and Ian. And we just having a conversation. If you got a question, feel free to ask it. Natalie, you've been unmuted. What's going on? Unmute yourself.
What's going on, fellas? Good evening. How are you?
Great. How are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. I actually had a question for the queen, but she has exited the building. I wanted to get her thoughts on the real estate market since we had an economist on hand. But I did see the episode with Kiana and MG, and they think that everything is going to be on the up for the next few years. But I did want her opinion on that. I forgot to put my hand.
Are you investing for the long term or are you flipping?
I am definitely looking to invest long term. I want to get some holes under my belt. I'm not opposed to the flip, but I do understand that I need to hold. Absolutely.
If you look historically what the returns are, they are on par with S&P 500. I mean, short answer, if you invest in a good area and you buy at a good price, real estate's an easy win. It is an easy win. So if you're holding for 5-10 year period, you'll be good.
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm in the Atlanta market, so
you're booming. Come on, the houses in Alpharetta in 07 were what? 350, 325 for you're good.
Well, the house hacking with the multifamily is hard out here. So I'm trying to look into zoning to see if I can possibly turn some single families into families. So outside of that, I would need to look outside of the metro area. I'm also looking into tax lien investing. So I have a few things that I'm looking into out here in Atlanta.
I mean, if you can go look in that low-cost area and find something in bankruptcy, it may not be bad.
The off-market deals, absolutely. The probate and subject to deals. I'm taking in so much content, so my problem is execution. And I've definitely gotten a few accountability partners that are holding me to some things.
Love it. Shout out to the accountability teams.
Accountability teams is extremely important. One of the things that we did in EYL University early on, I read a book that really changed my perspective on things called the 12-week year.
That's a great book. That's so slept on. Oh my God.
Yeah. That was I think that was our first book.
I think that's the first book that we read in the book club. And so the whole premise behind the 12-week year is that a lot of times people make goals. All right, I'll give you an example. So the goal is like, I want to lose 20 pounds, right, for the year. So you start January 1st, you get a gym membership, you get a diet plan, and you fall off the wagon after a couple of weeks. And at the end of the year, not only did you not lose 20 pounds, but you actually gained 5 pounds. Problem is that that's not really an attainable goal because you didn't set any parameters to achieve the goal. So the 12-week year, the whole theory is that you break the year down into every 12 weeks is a year, right? And you can do that. I started doing it every week and then every month. So instead of saying I'm going to lose 20 pounds, you say, okay, I'm going to lose 5 pounds for the first 60 days of the year, right? But how you accomplish that is not really to say I'm just going to lose 5 pounds, because that's not really a goal either. The goal is to say, what's the actionable items, steps that's going to get me to that. So I know if I go to the gym 4 times a week and I eat low carbs and I stay
overtraining with micro sheet.
Exactly.
Have a balanced diet.
So that's really the goal. The goal is not really to lose the 5 pounds. The goal is to go to the gyms 5 times a week. The goal is to eat low carbs, go to that, because we know if we follow those steps, then the end result will lead to us losing 5. It's the same thing with making money. People say, I want to make $100,000, but what does that really mean? The steps that you need to make $100,000 is you need to sell. If you sell merchandise, you need to sell 50 pairs of your hoodies every single week. So how do you sell the 50 pairs of hoodies? You need to go to 10 barbershops. You need to go to swap meet. You need to do all these different things. So accountability partners is part of that 12-week cycle. So if anybody's interested, check out the book. It's something that's extremely important and extremely beneficial if you're trying to accomplish a goal.
Yeah, the product, it's going to be a byproduct. The results are going to be a byproduct of the steps that you take. Yeah. And so the 12-week year, every week now becomes a month of the year. And so it's kind of dope. Like, well, what have I done for January? What have I done for February? It's March already. Have I met my goals? So everything gets compressed into a shorter time, which gives you more time to say, look, I got to be super focused to get these tasks done. And what the accountability teams do is, and I think this is so beautiful and it worked out perfectly, is that most people in these accountability teams have no idea who each other are. All they know is the goal that you have set for yourself. Yeah. And so all they're really trying to do is make sure that you can obtain that goal. And so when people are trying to help you just reach your goal with no judgment, it's a beautiful thing, because all they know is what you want to do. They know nothing else about you. And as the groups keep growing, then you start to get to learn the person. And then it's like, okay, well, here's where you need maybe some help in. Here's where my strengths. And it kind of becomes a balancing act inside of a group. That's why I think it's so dope. So shout out to everybody in the Accountability Club. Shout out to Janet. I got a new name for Janet.
What's that?
The Chancellor.
Shout out to Janet.
The Chancellor. Everybody, that's what you're going.
Very, very important person. But also I want to say, even if you're not, it's power in groups and power in numbers. So like if you just are starting investment clubs, you don't have to have a formal investment club. Like you can pull together 2 or 3 of your friends and hold each other accountable. Nobody wants to disappoint you. You have no problem disappointing yourself, but you don't want to disappoint somebody else. Yeah. That's just human nature. That's why accountability partners are so strong, because if you promise you're going to do something and somebody checks in on you, 9 times out of 10, even if you don't want to do it, you'll do it just because you don't want to have the embarrassment or the disappointment of not actually doing what you said you're going to do. But if you don't have anybody to be accountable to, then you're just not going to do anything. So I encourage everybody, investing, business, whatever, relationships, put together your own accountability teams in your own life, and you'll see that it will greatly improve your situation. It's just like
we'll still do the work. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to. Yeah, you got to.
Yeah, I think we still have it in our Facebook group. Janet, we still got that on Audible?
Can we talk about next week, or is it too early?
Man,
to speak about
listen, do it.
All right.
You want to do it too?
Yeah. Next week. Yeah, definitely. It's one of these situations where it definitely has the potential to probably be one of the most legendary moments of EYL history so far, and that says a lot. That says a lot. We've had a lot of great not Market Mondays history, just EYL history.
Yeah.
If you are familiar with history, you know that the 100th year anniversary of the bombing of Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, is next week. Actually next Monday, ironically enough.
Yeah. 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. So we have been invited by the good brother Hill Harper to come to Black Wall Street,
Greenwood
Ave, and film a live Market Mondays with Hill Harper as our guest on actually almost the same exact time that the bombing took place 100 years ago.
On the same exact corner.
On the same corner.
Where the first business was founded.
Yes. So we will be there. We will be there in the flesh.
Man, I got chills.
Live on that corner. We're doing a live Market Mondays from Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Inside of a Black-owned business.
Yes. So we'll have more details to come. But definitely Yeah. Be there. It's open to the public.
It's gonna be special.
Open to the public. Don't meet us there. Beat us there. I spoke to my boy Wall Street Trapper. He said he's coming just to bring his daughter, just to experience the situation. I'm gonna bring my son.
My family will be there. Yep.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. We spoke about, I think, like probably early on when we were saying, look, Black Wall Street, this is going to be different. But I think we've created our own street. I'm gonna call it Earn Your Leisure Way. And there's a lot of things being built on Earn Your Leisure Way. Whether if you're trying to get credit through him 500, or you trapping in the trap house on Earn Your Leisure Way with Ian, or you trapping with Trapper, or you getting mortgages from MG the mortgage guy. There's a lot being built, and so I'm so happy to even be a part of this. This is bigger than Earn Your Leisure. This is like his life history. Like this is one of the biggest moments of my life.
It's going to be a monumental event.
I'm excited.
It's going to be a monumental event, and I encourage anybody that can come to come. And we're looking forward to it. So shout out to Hill Harper. Like I said, we'll have more information. We need to get at least 10,000 people watching this live. So maybe we can do like a giveaway to encourage people. I mean, I don't think we should have to do
for next
giveaways.
Week?
Yeah.
We'll do it big next week.
We'll figure something out because we need to get as many people watching that as possible. And aside from the Black Wall Street conversation, I mean, Hill Harper's actually launching. He got some breaking news. His crypto wallet, the first Black crypto wallet, is going to be. So yeah, I mean the conversation on crypto and what he's doing. If anybody that's not familiar with Hill Harper, legendary actor, he was in President Obama's cabinet, or he was an advisor to President Obama, a good friend of President Obama, went to college with him. Legendary guy, man.
We sat down with Derek Ferguson yesterday, and we were talking about Hill Harper. He's an actor, but I think beyond acting, like this guy has 2 degrees from Harvard, like super educated,
guys,
one of the smartest people you'll ever meet, and he just so happens to act as well. We sat down with him, had a great conversation when we were in LA. I'm excited for the people to actually hear what he has coming, man. It's going to be monumental.
His career, he's always been intelligent.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Different level.
Special.
Different level. Oh, and Ian Dunlap will be there.
I mean, of course.
Ian Dunlap will be
Black History every week. So
Red
Panda family, show up. Don't show up. We're making history. Also, the moves that we're going to make, move in silence, go study what happened on Black Wall Street. I'm going to be in full Dick Gregory mode for our ancestors. Trust me. I'm going to bring some fire next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be good. That's going to be good. All right. Well, another Market Mondays. Yes. Shout out to our esteemed guest, Lule. That was amazing. For her to come. Shout out to Ally. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be a great time next week. I'm really I don't get excited too often.
Yeah, it's gonna be big.
But I'm excited for next week.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for Wednesday.
That's gonna
go to South Beach.
Hey, I handed in my. I told you, man.
I wish I was gonna be.
Ian, I'm serious. I handed in my emergency contact. I told Mike that. He was like, "Troy, I got you."
Yo, you might as well just stay. Ian.
Nah, you just don't stay exactly where you are. I'm not gonna say where you are, but just stay where you are. We'll be there.
Yeah, we pulling out,
and we're gonna make a whole movie out of it.
Literally.
Kudos to Mike. Mike hit me yesterday. The funny part is, like, when I was on my Super Gladiator thing, his overtraining program, like I was in the gym using his overtraining program and looking at Thinkorswim. Mike's dope, underrated as hell when it comes to business too. For those of you who are in the fitness, you know how big, and he was like probably the biggest student that came from CT, but his work ethic, but that work ethic in the gym led to him being a great business person. Mike's career, man, is going to be incredible over these next 5-6 years. So, I'm excited to see what you guys cook up.
Yeah, I think people saying that 60 Minutes did a segment on Tulsa last night. I know LeBron and Spring Hill Entertainment are doing a special on Monday. They're putting out on CNN. So it's going to be a big week.
Mav, call us, please.
Yeah, what super chats are you referring? Some people say you're not answering questions for super. I don't see any super. You see super chats?
I turn my.
I don't see. Off. I'm not sure what questions you're referring to, but throw the question in the chat. And I hate when people ask the same question. I don't see the question. It's like they ask that. Simply Logic has asked this question 10 times already. I don't see the super chat question, bro. It's not done intentionally.
Or you guys can put it in chat for us, and then I'll be able to answer.
I don't really know what
homework, scholarship vibes. Go watch every past episode of Market Mondays. For those of you who ask for a scholarship, all the answers are there, and the picks, and how to get in and how to get out.
Yeah,
I don't want to do the work.
I don't see one super chat.
There's no super chats.
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Maybe I just turned my internet off.
Maybe my you see a super chat, Jamal?
But the time of when to get in is key.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow, check out EYL. We got a dope conversation about outsourcing, 8 o'clock live. Check it out on our YouTube channel, all podcast outlets. Meet us in Miami at 3 o'clock on Wednesday. It's free. It's for the community. It's an open workout. It's positive. And then we're going to answer questions about business. And then we're going to network. And then meet us in Tulsa, Oklahoma on Monday. 7 o'clock. It's going to be lit.
Yeah, we're going live at 8. We're going
live at 7.
7? I think
it's Central. It's Central Standard.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Yeah, we're going live at 7. My apologies. Yeah. All right. Well, you know how this works, man. This is the end of Market Mondays. Obviously, we're always going to encourage you to please reach out to somebody. Reach out to somebody. Anybody that you have in your contact list. Go through your contact list. A lot of y'all have a lot of people that y'all haven't spoken to in 10 years, 15 years, probably for the right reason. But if there's somebody that you just broke a relationship with and you don't even know what happened, a lot of times that happens in life. Signals get crossed and you lose contact with somebody, but you had a valued relationship in the past. Reach out, see how they're doing. One conversation, one text message could change the trajectory of somebody's life. I say that because I've really seen it happen and I've really lived it. So please do that. We encourage you to do that. Shout out to all my teachers. Shout out to everybody that is investing and taking advantage of all the information that they're getting. As you know, information's on us, applications on y'all.
Shout out to my boy. Shout out to my boy. He's out in the D. I was playing his album yesterday.
T Grizzly?
T Grizzly. He said, shout out to my team. He said, I got more money than anybody I went to school with, including my teachers.
Shout out to T Grizzly.
Shout out to T Grizzly.
That's my guy.
That's a fact.
T is smart too, man. Like, if you look at his page, he's smart. You guys have to stop confusing the aesthetics of a person with not being intelligent. Some of the people who do not look that smart are very well invested, and you can always learn.
I heard a lyric from him, and when we hear lyrics, I'm hearing like, ooh, that little bar is a lesson right there. He said, my boys went from getting suspended to getting indicted, and so like that school to prison pipeline, I was like, ooh, that's a bar right there. We can teach a whole lesson on just that bar. So shout out to T Grizzly, shout out to Detroit. What up, though? Yeah. Shout out to my man Ken.
Troy's always the responsible one. I be ready to talk spicy. Troy's the humble servant. He's the humble servant, Bible study, family man.
Troy Joy. That's the way though. Yeah.
I'll be on some like, let's get these bottles. Let's more bottles this situation. But
yeah, I go see. I'll be in the background of the picture.
Man.
More bottles? Okay. This way.
Hey yo, Ian, let's let Ian have
Ian, last word is yours, my brother.
Shout out to my family, love you guys dearly. Xander, if you're up, go to bed please. Red Panda family, I love you guys so much, and everybody who's watching, I appreciate you guys so much. Type in the biggest lesson that you learned since you've been watching the show, and Stock Club call will be after. We only be on 10 minutes for real, but I'm excited as hell for next week. I wish my grandmother was alive so I can tell her about this. Like, this is different. It's different.
It's one of those moments. Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, and shout out to my boy G. So where you kick that?
Oh yeah. Shout out to my man Greg Self, man.
Greg, I need the Red Panda joints immediately. The EYL joints immediately.
Yeah, the bird greens are out, man. We put Janet. Can you put it in the chat? Can you put it in the Zoom chat?
Yeah.
Shout out to my boy who create. I mean, a real sneakerhead. He probably has over 500 pairs. He's been buying and now he owns his own shoe.
Support black business, man.
We doing it in real life, y'all.
Yeah.
Love is love.
Appreciate y'all.
Peace.
Over and out. Peace. Be great.